Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be messing around with these seat bases. Now we've got the floor pan all in, obviously. Now normally you just weld these in and they go right about here, just a little bit behind this oval punch out that they have in the floor. They have two of them, like drain holes, and that mounts right there in the stock position. Now one of the complaints I get a lot from Mustang owners is, especially like if you're 6 foot or taller, then you're really cramped for room. And a lot of that is because of this seat base. Now, this seat base is actually a structural component of the car in the car's stock format. The rail extensions come through here. You can see these plug welds through here, and it finishes right there. And it actually ties in with that edge, so that as this is wanting to move up and down under the heavy loads and acceleration and braking and stuff like that, this wants to move. So it welds to the underside of the seat base, which then spreads the load all the way around here, ties it across to the rocker. So that is a structural piece, because the simple answer is, why not just move it back a bit? Well, that takes away support from the stock factory rail extension. Now this car, we put the 3/4 inch chassis in it, or if you put subframe connectors in it, then you're not tied by those limitations. You can move this wherever you want it to. So the owner of this car, he's like 6'5" and like long legs and arms. So he's he kind of looks like he's almost driving a clown car when he's in the normal configuration. So what we're going to do is move this not only back but also down, which is going to mean trimming the height of this off, getting it down and getting it further back. And we've done one side as an experiment to see how it works, so let's just switch around and we'll show you what we've done, and then we'll go through the process of how I got it there. Okay, so this is what the finished product looks like. Now this is a stock one, so you can kind of see the sheer difference in height. Plus we also marked here, you can see the little Sharpie lines. We marked here where the original one goes. So we're down like 1.5 inches and we're back about 2.5 inches. So yeah, you can kind of see how much shallower this is when you compare it to the stock one. And when you look at the stock one in that location, you see the front edge of this one is here compared to there, and how much lower it is. So that's going to give my guy, and like anybody else who's looking, or doing some serious work with the seat mounts, this is the time to do it. If you're replacing floors, you can move it back, but you are going to need some frame connectors or some kind of reinforcement. And now you could cheat the system if you didn't want to put subframe connectors and just extend this until it reaches the seat, which is that 2.5 inches. You could extend it just back to there, but it does need to be tied into some sort of support here. Really, you could not do it, but that's not what I'd recommend. I would say, either put subframe connectors in, or extend this chassis rail extension, extend it a bit further until it reaches this flange here. So what you got to do is, now these come with this piece on the underside here, which is also part of this is structural as well. Now we've got to lose that because we've got to get this trimmed down in height. So yeah, that's what a stock one looks like. That's what a non-stock one looks like. So yeah, let's start cutting on the one on the other side there and go through the process. Alrighty, so here's the base. Cut that little strutter there out, that little strengthening piece there, that's gone, we can't use that. But we have got the subframe connector, so we don't need that. This is purely going to be for holding your back seat off the floor, the chair, the seat. So what I've done, we're dropping 1.5 inches. So taking 1.5 inches off gives us that line here, this one here that I've measured and marked out. Now we need to rebend this flange so we can plug weld or spot weld down into it. So that's our bend line, that's our actual height. Then I've added another 3/4 of an inch, marked it through there. We're going to cut that off there, then we'll bend that. and that'll be the replacement for this flange here. And same on the front. That's 1.5 inches up from the bottom, and then then you back 3/4 of an inch to give yourself a new flange. So yeah, let's break out the 3-jaw cutters, start cutting. Getting myself hooked up here. Now the 3-jaw cutter won't cut around this flange, so we just do the last little bit with snips. Need right hand snips for that. That'll be those ones. Get rid of this piece first. The old rinse and repeat. So that's the bulk of what we've got to gotten rid of. So we've got to redo this shape here that was here to lift that up. So we actually only want our flange here from that little mark there, which that allows us for it to all drop down into the floor. So we're going to I think I'll use a cut-off wheel, and we'll get rid of some of this flanged area here to make life a bit easier to deal with. Cut that way. Now I'm being fairly aggressive with my cuts here because I've already done the other side, and I did sneak up on that a little bit more. So like what I did, I know I can go straight to that line now, but what I did on the other side is say the first time was not quite so aggressive, and just cut it like that. So that's ready to bend now. The other side, we've got a little bit of a flange here as well, which is going to stop us bending. So we'll get rid of that. That's hot. Right, now one of the unfortunate, I've got a metal brake for folding stuff like that, but you can't get that in, unfortunately. So it's it's kind of an old-fashioned bend system. We're going to just have to actually do it in the vise. So I'm just getting that, our mark line lined up there. Remember, we're not bending body panels here, so you know it doesn't need to be. You know, if I was making the edge of a door skin here, it would, you know, you can't do it like this. But this is a seat base, and it doesn't need to be quite so pretty, but you can still make it fairly pretty. Yep. A little tight bit there that doesn't want to play. Okay. It's a little bit of the spot weld sticking there that's just binding in the vise. It's quite a little height. Yeah. Nice little bit. Just hammering it on that backside to sharpen up that bend. Right, now it's about, it maybe needs to be bent a little more than that, but the flange is not sitting. It's going to sit about there, probably needs just a little more. But yeah, that's a matter of finessing that a little bit. So we'll do that. Right, that's going to sit fairly flat on the floor now. So yeah, just do that side. So kind of rinse and repeat, same concept. So let me just get that done, and then we'll get into trimming the side off, because this is actually going to end up narrower as well. So back in a second. Alright, so we've got both the front and rear flanges folded in now. Now this is when you realise that we've got a width issue as well, because this, as it goes down, this flare is flaring that way, so it's narrower, like it's narrower from there to there than it is from, you know, 1.5 inches higher there. So you lose a bit of width for it. So it's got to be where it's got to be on the inside of the rocker. We can't change that, so we have to lose it from this inside edge. So this is just a basically a process of whittling it down, and getting rid of, down until such time as it fits in there. Now, you don't want to take too much off, because then it's a mess. But you do want enough to have this little flange here. So and I'm just eyeballing. That's about the height here, is about the height it's going to end up at. So like if you straight line it up from there, this little line here is going to need to be about here, and the same back here. That if you come up from there, yeah, that's about how much we need to remove. That's where this bend needs to move from there into here. So we've got to trim a bit of material off, trim a little bit off the front here. It's going to need to kind of go like that and around there to match this curve. And yeah, a lot of that is really trial and error. It's just whittling it down until you get it a nice fit. So that's about where we got to trim. Now the other thing we're going to have to do is, and whether you guys have noticed, there's 4 holes here. Now that in normal situation is how you access the on the bottom of the seat runners. There's studs come down, you know, poke out of the bottom of the seat, the sliding runners, and they go through here, through those holes, and then you put the nuts up through these holes and bolt it into the car. That's what holds them in place. Now because we're going back 2.5 inches, these holes are going to be nowhere near lined up with these holes. So what we're going to have to do, there's a bit of work, you know, like it's kind of no free lunches type of thing. We're going to have to weld these up, fill these holes, and actually drill some new ones in the right location about 2.5 inches further back. So what I did on the other side was once I got this all fitted where I wanted it, got it the right distance back, we just reached through, marked the floor, and then re-drilled our 4 new access holes and welded the old ones up. So, but first, we got to get rid of some more material here. So let's go do that. All right, so we're getting pretty close now. You can now kind of, if you zoom in a bit, you can see the similarity between the 2 seat bases now rather than being wildly different. This is the right height. We've got the width right. I've been kind of whittling away at it, cutting these corners off to make them so it sits down nice. So this is pretty close. It's kind of, we're about ready to, you know, punch a bunch of holes in here for plug welds and around the edges and across here, plug a weld all that in. Like you can see we did on the other side. And then, yeah, we've got these holes, the original seat nut or bolt holes, where you can access the stud that goes down through here. So we're going to have to fill those, which is, I mean, that's just tedious, you know, cutting a little disc of steel and welding it in there and grinding it off smooth. Once we get our distance exactly right, we can just reach through here with a Sharpie, mark it on there. And then what I did on the other side was just get a hole saw and like a body hole saw, buzz it through. 1, 2, 3, 4. I filled these first, just so you know we don't have 8 holes in the floor making it want to move, or potentially making it, you know, allow it to move. So I fill those first, drill those out, drop this back in, lots of weld through primer. And there you go. With a few hours work, you know, suddenly, you know, a 6'5" guy can fit in a Mustang, which you can't do in normal situations. I know, I think the Mercury Cougar has a slightly lower base, but it's like 1/2 inch. We've gone down 1.5 inches, which is going to give you that headroom. And that was the trouble the owner of this car was having when he drove it. Yeah, he did actually drive this car before he brought it to me. You know, his head was touching the headlining, which obviously not comfortable. So that 1.5 inches is going to give him all the headroom he needs, and the 2.5 back is going to give him all the leg room he needs. And I think that's a pretty good conversion. You know, without getting too scientific and making custom mounts. You know, Ford made a good seat mount for us, seat base. So yeah, let's just you know, take it that little step further, which is what we did. So there you go. That is how you get a 6'2", 3, 4, 5 guy into a first gen Mustang. All right, well, that's it for me. It's raining. It's time to go home. I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy, guys.